In the last episode, we touched upon the subtle balance between active and calming game design elements and how the latter have not vanished but rather morphed into repetitive tasks in the modern gaming landscape. As we delve deeper into this topic, we will connect the old with the new and watch some titles from industry giants to understand the shift in player perception. My name is Sergey Snegiryov, and this is the podcast 80 Levels of Game Design. The Sandbox Games is a quintessential example of contemporary game design. These are vast open worlds where the task of entertainment falls squarely on the player, often through mechanics that repeat those found in mobile gaming. The exhaustive grind for resources, the real-time crafting, and the independent search for crafting recipes are all elements that stretch the gameplay experience, making each stage more labor-intensive. Titles such as Conan Exiles, V-Rising, or No Man's Sky could easily frustrate players who grew up with a different kind of creativity from old developers. This trend isn't confined to sandbox games. It became increasingly common to see the launch of bare-bones games in content relying on basic repetitive mechanics that are refined over years post-release. This approach has become so normalized that it no longer raises eyebrows. Still, it raises questions about the evolution of game design and the expectations set for developers and players. Consider Ubisoft, a company once known for its high-scoring games. It's been a decade since one of their games scored 90 or above on Metacritic. This isn't just a reflection of changing tastes, an indication of how the industry's approach to game development has shifted. The focus has moved from delivering a complete and polished experience at launch to a model that embraces incremental improvements over time. This shift is symptomatic of a more significant trend in the gaming industry, where the initial release is no longer the final product, but a foundation upon which to build. While this can allow for games to evolve and improve based on player feedback, it also means that players are often left with a sense of incompleteness, and they are responsible for finding enjoyment in what can sometimes feel like a sea of monotonous tasks. As we continue to explore this topic, we must ask, what has been lost in this transition, and more importantly, what does it mean for the future of game design and the experiences that await us as players? The answers to these questions are complex, but they are crucial to understanding the current state of the gaming industry and where it might be headed. The transformation of game design from a creative pursuit to a monetization strategy is a significant factor in the evolving of modern gaming. In the early days of gaming, the transaction was straightforward. You paid for a game and you got the full experience. There were no hidden fees, no additional purchases necessary to unlock the full potential of the game. This model was simple and consumer-friendly, but as the industry grew, so did its ambition for profit. Introducing microtransactions and DLC marked the beginning of a new era. Initially, these were seen as ways to extend the life of a game, offering new adventures and experiences beyond the original scope. However, as these monetization strategies became more sophisticated, they began to influence the very core of game design. Today, games are not uncommon to be designed with monetization as a primary focus. From the get-go, developers are thinking about how to integrate loot boxes, time gates, and in-game currencies to encourage players to spend more. This shift has given rise to games intentionally designed to be grind-heavy, leveraging the psychology of reward to increase players towards making purchases that offer a shortcut. The impact of this shift on player experience is profound. Games that once provided a sense of completion and satisfaction now often leave players feeling nickel and dimmed. The joy of discovery and mastery has been overshadowed by the frustration of paywalls and the grind of repetitive tasks designed to wear down player resistance to opening their wallets. This monetization-first approach has also led to a homogenization of game design. In pursuing proven profitable models, Many developers have foregone innovation in favor of copying mechanics that are known to drive revenue. As a result, the market is flooded with games that look different on the surface, but share the same underlying design principles aimed at maximizing profit. As we reflect on this shift, it's essential to recognize that while monetization is necessary for the industry's survival, it need not come at the cost of creativity and player satisfaction. The challenge for game designers is to find a balance between financial viability and delivering an engaging, fulfilling gaming experience. The strategies employed by modern games are not just about extracting money. They are about understanding and influencing player behavior. Let's take the example of FIFA Ultimate Team mode. Here players are encouraged to build their dream team, but the catch is that the best players are often locked behind loot boxes, randomized packs that may or may not contain the desired characters. This system taps into the same psychological triggers as gambling, the thrill of chance and the allure of a potential reward. It's designed to keep players returning, spending more money in the hope of striking it lucky. Another example can be found in Dead Space 3, where the introduction of the option to purchase in-game guns with real money was a departure from the series' previous design. It was a move that many felt detracted from the game's atmosphere and survival horror roots, turning a one-stance resource management challenge into a simpler but less satisfying pay-to-progress model. Games like V-Rising implement fatigue systems that limit how much a player can do within a specific time frame, nudging them towards microtransactions to bypass these artificial barriers. This design preys on the player's impatience and the fear of missing out, creating a sense of urgency that can lead to unplanned spending. The psychological impact of these strategies is significant. They can lead to addictive behaviors, where the satisfaction of playing is replaced by the compulsion to spend. Games are no longer just a form of entertainment. They become a loop of investment and return, where the return is not guaranteed, and the investment is not just financial but emotional. Moreover, these tactics can create an uneven playing field, where players who spend more money gain a competitive edge. This undermines the skill-based nature of gaming, where success is supposed to be determined by one's mastery of the game rather than the depths of one's pockets. Understanding why the game industry has leaned so heavily into aggressive monetization tactics requires a look behind the curtain at the forces shaping game development. The reasons are multifaceted, involving economic pressures, player expectations, and the very nature of the digital marketplace. One of the primary drivers is the sheer profitability of microtransactions and loot boxes. Let's go back again. Games like FIFA Ultimate Mode have demonstrated that players are willing to spend vast amounts of money on in-game items, mainly when those items give status or competitive advantages. The result is a business model that prioritizes recurrent user spending over one-time sales. Another reason is the increasing cost of game development. As games become more complex and the expectations for high-quality graphics and content rise, so does the cost of production them. This has led developers to seek additional revenue streams to recoup their investments and fund future projects. Microtransactions offer a solution by providing a steady income long after the initial game purchase. The transition to digital distribution has also played a role. With games being sold through online platforms rather than physical stores, publishers have more control over pricing and sales strategies. This has led to the normalization of in-game stores and the gradual acceptance of ongoing spending as part of the gaming experience. Now we have a situation where developers employ psychologists to help design game mechanics that encourage habitual play and spending. This is a clear indication of the industry's shift towards a model that views players not just as consumers but as ongoing sources of revenue. The competitive nature of the gaming market also must be addressed. With thousands of games released each year, developers and under immense pressure to make their games stand out. Monetization tactics such as exclusive content, early access, and special editions are ways to create buzz and incentivize purchases. Lastly, the rise of free-to-play games has significantly impacted monetization strategies. These games rely entirely on microtransactions for revenue, which has led to the refinement of techniques to convert free users into paying customers. As these tactics become more sophisticated, they inevitably spill over into paid games, further blurring the lines between revenue models. The aggressive monetization strategies infiltrating modern gaming have not gone without their share of drama and community backlash. This tension between profit-driven game design and player satisfaction has led to several controversies which serve as cautionary tales for the industry. A notable example is the uproar surrounding Star Wars Battlefront 2. At its launch, the game featured a progression system heavily criticized for its reliance on loot boxes, which many players felt was a pay-to-win. The backlash was so severe that it caught the attention of lawmakers worldwide, leading to discussions about the regulation of loot boxes and microtransactions in games. In the process, the game design went from creating complete games to focusing on monetizing additional in-game items. The psychological tactics employed by games like V-Rising also sparked discussion about the ethical implications of such design. The game's use of fatigue systems and other time-gating mechanics, which can be bypassed through spending, has been a point of contention, leading to debates about the fairness and psychological impact of these strategies. This example of community backlash reflects a growing sentiment among players that the games they love are being used as vehicles for relentless monetization at the expense of gameplay quality and fairness. This drama is not just a series of isolated incidents, but a symptom of a more significant issue within the industry. The consequences of these monetization strategies extend beyond player dissatisfaction. They can damage a brand's reputation, reduce player trust, and ultimately impact the bottom line. When players feel that a game is more interested in their wallet than their enjoyment, they are less likely to invest in it or recommend it to others. Moreover, the industry's reputation has suffered as a result of these practices. The perception that games are becoming less about fun and more about profit has led to a growing disillusionment among players. This, in turn, can block innovation, as developers may hesitate to take creative risks for fear of failing to meet monetization targets. The gaming industry's foray into aggressive monetization has undoubtedly left its mark, but it has also provided valuable lessons. The dramas and backlashes have not only highlighted the pitfalls of such strategies, but also eliminated a path forward for developers and publishers who are willing to listen and adapt. One of the most significant lessons come from Battlefront 2, which taught the industry that player tolerance for pay-to-win mechanics is low and that transparency is critical. The outcry led to a complete overhaul of the game's monetization, ultimately removing loot boxes and revamping the progression system. This example shows that when developers are responsive to community feedback, trust can be rebuilt and games can be redeemed. The No Man's Sky saga also offers a blueprint for recovery. After facing intense criticism at launch, the developers committed to free updates that vastly improved the game and fulfilled many initial promises. This dedication to post-launch support helped to restore the community's faith and turned a once controversial title into a success story. Another lesson is that not all monetization is bad, but it must be done right. Cosmetic microtransactions, for example, can be a fair and non-intrusive way for players to support the games they love without affecting gameplay. Fortnite is a prime example of this model done correctly, with many skins and emotes that players can purchase to personalize their experience without gaining any competitive edge. The path forward for the industry involves a delicate balance between profitability and player satisfaction. Developers and publishers must be willing to engage with their communities, listen to feedback, and be transparent about their monetization strategies. They must also commit to ethical design practices, prioritizing the player experience over aggressive revenue generation. In conclusion, we must face the somber reality that the relentless pursuit of monetization in gaming casts a long shadow over the industry's creative spirit. The once bright landscape of innovative and diverse gaming experiences is at risk of being eclipsed by the dark clouds of the profit-driven design. You can follow a retrospective on the industry's journey, highlighting a shift from the coin-operated simplicity of arcade games to the complex web of monetization that ensnares modern titles. This way paints a picture of an industry at a crossroads, where the path of least resistance leads to a formulaic world, prioritizing revenue over originality. Many modern games stand as a testament to this troubling trend. The game's mechanics, which heavily simulate time or financial investments, indicate a broader movement away from creativity. This shift is not just a business model, but a cultural one. It signals a departure from the days when the primary goal of game development was to craft an experience that would captivate and inspire. The casualty in this shift is the death of creativity. When the financial imperative overshadows the creative one, games become less about exploration and innovation and more about exploiting proven formulas for profit. The drama that has unfolded from the monetization-centric approach is not just about the immediate backlash from players, it's about the long-term consequences for the art of game design. As monetization becomes the driving force, the industry risks an era of stagnation where the same ideas are repackaged in slightly different skins, and the truly groundbreaking ideas are left on the cutting room floor, deemed too risky or non-profitable enough. In this darker narrative of gaming future, the challenge for the industry is profound. It must navigate the treacherous waters of financial necessity while keeping creativity alive. But I stay with the hope that the future game industry can be a place where creativity and player experience will be based on the joy of discovery.